Welcome to Matt's Beach Fishing Lab. This is the lab. This is where the magic happens. This is where I build my rigs. This is where I spool my reels. This is where I do everything that I need to do for my beach fishing before I hit the beach. And this is where I bring you my rig time videos, my technical videos for the sea fishing to try and help you at home to catch fish, because that is what this channel is about. It's more about trying to help you at home to catch fish. I'm not here to be famous. I'm not here to try and get my name out there. I'm not here to try and get my merch sold in shops that don't even know who I am. I am literally here to help you at home. And tonight, or today, we're going into the pulley rig. This rig, if you have never tied a rig before, is one of the most easiest rigs on the market to make. It really is. If you've never made a rig before, you can tie this very, very easy. And I'm going to take you through this now, everything you need, step-by-step instructions of how to get this rig tied. And what I do with these videos, as you've seen in the past, weeks ago, before everyone else started doing it, I build my rig and then I take you out to the beach and actually show you how to use it. But you know what they say? Imitation is the highest form of flattery. So thank you very much. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get into this. So we have, first things first, what we need. Rig body. Rig body needs to be £10 for every ounce of lead you're using. Now I'm only using 6-ounce leads when I'm fishing at the weekend. So I am using £60 rig body. Another reason is I haven't got any 80 here. But I do use £60 quite a lot. And it's never failed me. It's never snapped on a cast. It's always held up perfectly fine. But now winter's coming, you'll get rougher weather, you'll get a lot more movement in the water. When it's choppy, you get a lot more sediment kicked up, you get a lot more abrasion on your snoods. Next time, or the rig body, sorry, next time I start building, I'll go up to 80, just because winter is a lot more harsher on your tackle than the summer. Believe it or not, that is a true fact. So, £60 rig body. For your snood, Amnesia, £20. This is the danglies. This is the stuff that 99.9% of people I know use for their rig bodies. Never fails, hell of a good stuff. It is memory free, so if it gets kinked up, you literally just put it over your knee or over your arm, give it a little bit of shimmy, 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 and it takes all the kinks out of it. Next thing, swivels. You need to make sure you have decent swivels. Spend a little bit of extra money on swivels. Trust me, that is the point of contact between your rod and the actual fish. That is the bit that takes the brunt of a cast. That is the bit that takes the strike. That is the bit where you're playing a fish. That is where the only solid point, there's no stretch at all. That is where the break can happen. Trust me, I've casted before. I've used cheap swivels. I've seen cheap swivels and cheap components on rigs that I've actually bought, and they fall apart. That is why it's a good idea to buy your own rigs. Next thing you need, a bait release clip. For bait release clips, yes, you would have seen in my last video, dongle, I use an imp. An imp is good on a dongle because you have the split ring. It just flicks out and releases it. For every other rig I'm using, which is a release clip, be it clip downs, loop rigs, cascade rigs, etc., I always use this, which is a Gemini splashdown, because it holds the rig in place. It's not cheap, they last, they're durable, they work fine, and they release when they hit the water. And you will make sure that your rig is in the flight, it's in tight, because if your rig comes out in flight, you're going to lose distance, you're going to get spin as well. And when you get spin on a cast, it's no good because it's sitting in the water and you don't know if your snood is kinked, you don't know if it's all twisted up, you don't know if it's tangled, and that means you're not fishing effectively. So you could be sitting there for half an hour, everyone else around you is catching, and you're not, because your bait is twisted up in that water. Next thing you need, swivels, not swivels, beads. Beads, you need beads. Beads are your buffer point. Beads are your point that stops as much abrasion on the actual rig. You know, it holds everything in place. Beads are a necessity. If you don't use beads, you're going to get metal on metal, you're going to get kinks, you're going to get damages, because you basically, you will cast out, you'll reel in, and your swivel will be against your swivel, and that could cause abrasion. It's not as neat, it's not as smooth in the actual rig itself. So beads are needed as well. Hook wise, like I say, for the purpose of this, I'm doing a pulley pedal. You can do single hooks, which obviously just means you don't add the top hook, but for the purpose of this, it's going to be a pulley pennel. And for that, 3.0 Sakuma Manta for my bottom hook. Some people will moan about mantas. I've had a couple snap in the past, years ago, actually in fish's mouths when I've landed them. But that was down to malpractice for me. I think reeling in over stones, hitting the stones, and they weakened to the point where when I caught a fish, I got it in, but as I was unhooking it, the hook just snapped in its mouth. But 99.9% of the time, these are bloody good hooks. And for the top hook, locking hooks, I like to use Chinoo's 1.0 Chinoo with a whole squid bait or a big worm bait. That it will hold the top of the bait in place. And you have the top hook because you don't make massive baits. I'll show you this on the beach, but I'll go through it quickly now. You don't do massive baits. That's pointless. That's absolutely pointless. Your baits need to be, I like thumb size or a little bit bigger. So you have your hook out the bottom, and out the top, you have your Chinoo. 2 hooks, mainly because if the fish comes from the top and grabs the bigger bait, it hooks on the top hook. From the bottom, it hooks on the bottom hook. You have a massive bait, like I say, I will go through this more on the beach. It looks good, but don't get me wrong, you see all these people on the internet now doing it. There's so many instant anglers, I call them, out there now. Not being nasty to people. But when you've been fishing for a long time and you see some of the advice that's given, it's not good. It's not good, but there you go. That's why me and other people here are very good at angling. I am going to name drop the likes of Wayne, Shore Hunter, the likes of Tom, Fishy Tom. People you should be watching, people who know what they're doing and people who actually give the correct advice. Gareth Griffiths, Booker, everyone like that. But then, like I say, there are some out there who are giving dangerous and bad advice. But that's just my personal opinion. I'm going to zip now because I'm going to get on a rant and I don't really like doing that. Anyway, so, rig body. Rig body, no messing around, no measuring. Literally, tip of my hand to my armpit. Snip that. Boom, bow. Right. Next thing's next. You need your bait release clip. In through the bottom, round through the top. Tie this in place. So you now have your bait release clip tied to the bottom of your rig body. Let's see. Right, you then have if I can actually see what I'm doing. Bead on the rig body. Swivel. Bead. And then swivel again. And that is your rig body tied. That is how easy this is. Oh dear, I think I've actually had some ragworm sitting somewhere on some of this because I've just touched my eye. I took a feel, it's starting to sweat. So if my eye goes red throughout this video, don't worry. It's literally probably just because my scissors, I've got ragworm juice on them still. And I've gone near my face and the allergic reaction is starting to come in. It's when I collapse and can't breathe, that's when you need to start worrying. So, rig body tied. We have bait release system. Bead, swivel, swivel on the end. Now, snood. For your snood, all you need to do, because you know your rig body is longer from your tip of your hand to your armpit. Now your snood needs to be shorter than your rig body. That is imperative when it comes to fishing with a pulley rig because that is the whole way of the mechanics of a pulley rig working. So if I bring that down, I'll probably bring it down about 5 inches less than my armpit. Because I do want this to be down in the water. I don't want it to be up high, but you can tie it so it's up high. So when the tide catches it, it flaps about above the bottom. But I want this to be sort of sitting fairly low. So when it's flapping, it's going down near the bottom and moving around. You basically tie your snood to your swivel at the bottom of your rig body. Super, super simple. Super, super simple. Basically tie that off. Snood, as you can see, is now tied to the bottom of the swivel. We will neaten this up once we're done. I'm not worried about doing that now. And then all you do You take your chinu hook. Your chinu hook, you pass. As you can see, I don't know if you can see that, it's got a little bit of a kink on the actual hook itself. So basically all you do, you pass this through the back of the chinu. So then when it sits, that will sit perfectly on the line. And then you take your 3/0. Your 3/0 hook, and that is the bottom hook on the rig. And this rig is now basically tied. And like I say, this video will come out, and then the next video that comes out will be me actually fishing with this, baiting up with this video, and hopefully catching some fish, and hopefully some special fish as well. Always wet your knots. I may have said it once in the video, but I don't care how many times I say it. Wetting your knots is imperative, because you don't wet your knot, the heat generated when you pull that monofilament against each other, it can cause damage, trust me. Whereas if you wet your knot, it's a little bit of lubricant, and it also stops the heat and stops the damage on your knots itself. Right, before I show you this, last thing I do, I trim off all my tag ends. I will leave a little tag end on the bottom hook. But then what I'll do with these is always leave a little tiny bit, because when you first use it, you may leave a little bit of a tag end, not too much, because the first thing you might do when you're using this, you might have a little tiny millimetre of slippage, right? Now, if you have that slippage, you don't want the knot pulling through. It'll obviously bed itself in on the first cast. And that is all you need. So this is your pulley rig tied. And that was me doing a demonstration video on the internet. Without doing this, I can tie them a hell of a lot quicker. I just tie these on the beaches sometimes. I'll sit there and I'll just knock them up in 5 minutes, and that's not an exaggeration. So let's go through again how this is actually done. Bait release clip, bead, swivel, bead, swivel. And then you come down to top pennel hook, bottom pennel hook. That is a pennel. That is how a pennel sits, like that. You know, your bait will go on there and you'll have 2 hooks sitting like that. And I will show you exactly on the beach how to do that. Let me just show you how this clips up. With a Gemini splashdown, you have a little bit of white plastic or red plastic on the bottom. That is when you hit the water, that little bit of plastic moves up and down. And if you can see, I'm not sure if you can, there's a little tiny metal bit in there. And you do that, it's locked off. And then when it hits the water, it pushes up, and the angled bit of metal pushes your hook out of the actual bait release clip itself. So all you do, you pull it down, you have a little hole, you put that through, and then yet again, bring that down. That is your pulley rig tied up. And as you can see at the top there, where your swivel, where my finger is, connects to the line, the actual snood length, you've got maybe 1 inch to 1.5 inches pulled down, that locks it in place. If your snood was longer than your top hook, or the snood was longer than the actual rig body, that would not lock in place. And all it does, it hits the water, and that pops up, and that pops out. That pops out, and you're fishing. Lovely. And like I say, we will go through everything else on the beach in the next video. Hopefully that's helped you, and hopefully you can get out, build this rig now. It's coming into winter, because it is a perfect rig for the winter when you're fishing for the bigger fish, trying to single out the bigger fish out of the whiting. And hopefully this will actually catch you some fish. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to say it once, I'm going to say it twice. If you haven't yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button, please. It helps the channel to grow. If you like the video, give it a like, and please leave me a comment or a like as well. It just helps the channel to grow massively. I'm nearly on 2,500 subscribers, bigger than what I ever thought I could do with this channel. And now I just want to keep it going. Thank you very much for watching. You take care of yourselves, and I'll see you by the water very soon.